All right, race fans, we are back, episode 261. And Puka, I know you're listening. When you post this on there, please post on there what episode it is, because this old guy gets massively confused as I'm trying to figure out what show it is. So 261, Jeff Keeney, number 61, good old Cedar Lake guy, kind of makes
Yep.
me ring a bell there, late model guy. But yeah, episode 261, folks. As always, Ryan Aho, your host, and of course we have the legendary Eastern Wisconsin race historian, race fan, former editor of the Full Throttle magazine, the one and only Bert Lehman. Bert, how you doing this week?
I'm doing good. A little tired today. We're recording this on Wednesday night. I went to a concert last night, and I couldn't take off of work, so I plowed through today and worked a full day of work after going to a concert. So as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to bed.
Chonga, Bert is doing 25-year-old shit as a what? What are you, like 65 now?
Feels like it today.
Bert out there. So there you go, ladies, right? We got, I got, I have my phone on focus and it just still keeps ringing. I don't understand the whole deal here. I literally mute everything down and it still rings. Drives me bonkers. But there you go. Bert out and at it at concerts. That's one thing. I notice you go to a lot of concerts, Bert.
Well,
What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Well, I just want to. When I was younger, I didn't go to concerts, so I think maybe I'm kind of making up for lost time. But I have a friend. He's single, never married, no kids or anything. So he's looking for things to do sometimes, and we both like going to concerts. So and then we met up with one of my other friends last night. But the best concert I ever went to would have been in 2004. As it turned out, it was a week after my dad passed away, but I saw Metallica live in Green Bay, and they played in the round, so they weren't on one side of the stadium; they were in the center, and then they would go around, and Godsmack opened up for them, so it was Godsmack and Metallica. That's the best concert I've ever been to.
That sounds like a good one to go to for sure. There's no question. And then we have former Proctor Speedway track champion, multi-time national champion crew chief, my right-hand man, guy that made sure my shit never fell off a race car ever. Maybe got mad at me a time or two, right? Might have been a little bit more fiery than me at times, which was tough to do. But Changa in the house. How's Changa doing today?
Oh God, does it even get any better, right? I mean, I get to be in the presence of you and Bert. I mean, it don't get any better than that.
I
Bullshit.
I forgot I
Bullshit.
forgot to I forgot to put my boots on before the show.
Yeah, hip waders coming out for that one. So this episode brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So folks, if you pay for your own health insurance, whether you're single, a couple, right? If you have a big family, maybe you have a small business, you got some employees that you want to offer health care to, and if you look at it every month and you're like, man, I am paying way too much money, crazy high deductibles, maybe you can only go to select doctors. I have an alternative for you that's been fantastic throughout the country. It's called Impact Health Sharing. For families, you're looking at right around $600 a month, $2,500 deductible for the whole family. So great deductibles. You can go to any provider. Hit me up, 218-969-1380. I can get you a quick, no obligation quote. I can get you the information you need to see if this is a good fit for you to help you keep money in your pocket rather than giving all that money away to health insurance people. You can spend it on cool shit like racing, concerts, golf, you name it, all kinds of fun stuff. So, guys, what do you say we start with? We had a long weekend of racing, right? I mean, we're into the heart of the racing season, Memorial Day weekend. I mean, holy shit. I mean, we had a stretch, guys, of like literally almost every single day of racing for like 3 straight weeks. It was absolutely bonkers. But let's just start with some of the crazy stuff that happened, and then we'll get into kind of our who's hot and who's not. Then we'll roll into kind of a recap of the past week, kind of give some shout outs, get to our bold predictions and our pick'ems and whatnot. But let's start with some of the crazy stuff that happened. So I'm going to preface it by asking you guys this: what is And let's stick to racing. If you want to go off tangent with this answer, by all means, right? But when you think of embarrassing moments, right? And whether it was you personally, somebody that you were with, something you witnessed, what is one of the most embarrassing moments that you've ever witnessed, other than this week's event that happened at a racetrack, whether it was yourself or somebody else? Changa, anything come to mind? Like you're like, holy shit, that was a bit much. That was a little embarrassing.
Well, my most embarrassing one was when my shoe went flying at Cedar Lake. I don't know about that, but
Well, tell us about that. So talk about Fiery Bert, right? He was the crew chief that was pissed. If we didn't win, he was just as pissed off as me. So
so
what? Give us a little context there.
we're at the World Outlaw Sprint Car show down at Cedar Lake, and they were the support class for the Minnesota Superstocks. And that was a big deal anytime you got that many people in the house watching to try to go there and perform. Back in them days, it was not real common for someone from northern Minnesota to go to Cedar Lake and win races there. It was tough, right? And so we go there kind of, we're probably national point leader, way up there, thinking we're pretty good, and we're going there expecting to win like every other night. And for the one time a year my dad come to watch, and I think we started on the front row of the heat race and got second or something. I think it was Bowmeister that beat us, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Probably. He was pretty quick there for sure.
And then so I was just pissed off after the race, and I kicked a rock and my shoe went flying and in front of the whole grandstands, and that was kind of embarrassing. And at least we did redeem ourselves in the feature and come back and won that one. I want to say what was it, Borgeson you passed to win that?
I think Borgeson, Nippolt was maybe up there, but yeah, 56 and a sticker. 56 and a sticker we got there. So the old point structure from Wasota. Yeah, that was one of your shining moments. I think your better half was there too, wasn't she? At the
No,
time?
I believe so.
No, she wasn't. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, your shoe went flying, and yeah, I remember. I don't remember who it was, but I think somebody mentioned that you kind of looked a little silly. But
Oh,
I may have thrown a thing or two back in the day myself, so I can't judge on that one. Bert, how about you? What any embarrassing moments for you, or that you witnessed, or
Not for me.
sure,
Um,
sure, Bert. Okay, sure.
no. Well, I mean, we talked about this via text a few weeks ago, and I said I would share this story on the show, so I guess I can share it. I raced in a media slash celebrity race. We raced hobby stocks, and my biggest fear was that I because I'm not used to driving. I'm used to driving an automatic. I'm not used to driving a manual. So my biggest fear was that I was going to snub the car out in front of the grandstand and not be able to restart it and get it going again. So one of my friends who raced hobby stocks, he invited me to his shop, which was kind of in the countryside, and so I get there and he had the car out in the driveway, and he climbed in the driver's seat and he said, climb in the passenger window. So I'm crouched down, hanging onto the roll bars, and he takes off and we're flying down this country road. I don't know how fast we were going, but we were going pretty fast. And I'm kneeling inside there hanging onto the roll bars. But I did not snub out the car in front of the grandstand. And so I did not get embarrassed at the races. But as far as embarrassing at the races, um, I remember one. I think it was a heat race. MJ was leading the heat race, and the white flag flew, and he thought it was a checkered, and he pulled in, and and you know the rest of the story.
He won a race in Rapids. So Jeff Provenzino, who's been running good this year in the late models, he was leading. I don't know if it was a heat or feature in Grand Rapids, and he got the white flag, exit stage right, pulled into the infield. I parked in victory lane. I'm like, holy shit, thanks, guy, appreciate it. And not huge crowds. I mean, I've spun out on the parade lap at the World of Outlaw race at Cedar. Blake Adams spun out on the parade lap at Granite. World of Outlaws race, 4 or 5,000 people there. Granite City regular night, what, 500-600 people. How about Scott McLaughlin? right? Team Penske, Indy 500, 300,000 fans plus millions watching online, literally spins out on the frickin' parade lap, piles into the wall, destroys the car, never even takes the green. I got to be honest, I've done some embarrassing shit, right? We've all seen a lot of embarrassing stuff. I can't even imagine what that guy felt like piling into the wall in the parade lap at the biggest race in pretty much all of motorsports, the Indy 500.
Well, and it's not even the fact that it happened in front of, all these people. And I mean, these drivers, this is the one race of the year where that they want to win the most. And basically they dedicate their entire month of May to, getting the best qualifying laps that they can so they can get a good starting spot. And then, like you said, to spin and hit the wall before you even take the green flag, it's gut wrenching.
Oh, that's painful. And it was cooler, right? But still, I mean, shit happens quick, right? I can't say nothing. I spun on a parade lap, right? I can't say nothing. I've done it. But fortunately, we don't have very, intricate stuff in a super stock like they have in an Indy car. So yeah, tough break there for Scott McLaughlin. Let's move. I should bring one up for my dad. He's gonna be pissed when he listens to this. There wasn't a lot of people there to see it. So Chongi, remember the dirt road by the house? Oh, by the racetrack? We call it Six Pack Road. We'd put a new motor in. Maybe there was a miss. We were trying to figure shit out, and it was about a mile long. And we'd go out and we'd have somebody park on each end of the road, and you'd burn up and down that road trying to get under load to see if you can get rid of a miss, right? And I'll never forget this. My dad decided I'm going to take the car down that dirt road and just run it down there. And I hear dead silence. I'm like, ooh, that ain't, I wonder what happened, right? Nobody coming back, nobody coming back, nobody coming back. I'm like, this ain't good. I better run down there on the four wheeler. The ditches, guys, were probably 3 feet, 3.5 feet deep, pretty deep, and they were always pretty full of water. He turned that bitch around right on the dirt road and backed his super stock right into the freaking ditch full of water. And yeah, he was pretty sheepish when he got back, and we gave him a little shit, but that was a long time ago. He'll definitely remember that one when he listens to this. Sorry, Dad, I had to. All right, so racing can bring out the fire. We were Chonga kicking shoes, me throwing shit. We talked about Provenzino. Sprint car racing. It don't matter if it's a local scene, national scene. I mean, locally, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to get into a lot of details. Couple super stock racers over Western Minnesota. Sparby, Ashtray, Kurt Myers, not going to be exchanging Christmas cards anytime soon. Okay. But it happens on the national scene too. Earl Baltus always said, what, Bert? You fight on the racetrack, I'll pay you. You fight in the pits, I'm suspending you, right? So you're going to do it, put on a show. Scott Bagucki and Sam Hafer-Teep Jr., I don't remember what track it was, but they were in a knockout, drag out brawl on the racetrack, wrestling, throwing haymakers at each other, headlocks. I mean, the full 9 yards out in the middle of the racetrack. I haven't seen what the repercussions are. I'm assuming probably some kind of a fine, suspension. I'm not really positive, but it happens. Racing, I'm here to tell you, whether it's, I mean, you watch hockey, Chonga's favorite sport, hockey. Fighting's part of the game, just part of the game. They're trying to get away from that. Now there's more penalty time and all that than there used to be. But when you're competing in anything, right, tempers come out, they flare, and racing's no different. So yeah, we like a good Donnybrook. That happens a lot more down in the south though than it does up in the north, because I think they have straight up free for alls down there. Up north you get suspended for a significant amount of time if that stuff happens. So
Oh, and in the South, they're also not worried about losing teeth because they've been gone for a long time.
well, that's fair enough. I mean, you get down to Alabama, they invented the toothbrush down there in Alabama.
Oh,
Well, if it was anywhere else, it would have been the teeth brush. Okay,
right.
so just saying. Yeah, things are a little different. When you go to a racetrack in the South and they don't allow drinking in the grandstands, you have to drink in the pits if you're going to drink. Things are different. Things are different down there. And let's face it, T-Max said what? He said fear equals respect. Quite honestly, right? I mean, usually speaking, if you have an issue with somebody, if that shit lingers all season long, it can be a stressful season. If you get in a fist fight with the person, win, lose, or draw, it usually nips it in the bud. It's like, all right, it's over. It's over right here. And yeah, so there's some heated stuff going on here this past weekend. How about Steve Harvey? Did you so I some of these races, I didn't it's crazy, the race fans and stuff. So if you're all familiar, Steve Harvey was actually at the Mod Nationals. From what I understand, he was doing the scoring at Ogilvy this past weekend for the Mod Nationals, which I thought was super interesting. I mean, Steve Harvey, I mean, he's a national celebrity, right? And to see him come to a race, well, then I did some digging and I'm like, maybe it wasn't actually Steve Harvey. So for context here, 2016, 17, I don't know, 6, 8 years ago, he was actually the kind of the commentator, the MC for the Miss Universe pageant. And everybody remembers the moment. And the winner is Miss Columbia, right? And she's all excited. And he's like, oh, shit, that is the wrong person. Oh, and talk about that's an embarrassing moment, right? National TV. She's like, my whole life has changed. I'm Miss Universe. And by the way, just kidding, you're not. It's this gal over here. It's like, oh my God, right? That happened at Ogilvy, not to that extent, of course, right? But we're going to call Dexton Cook Miss Columbia from now on. So sorry, Dexton, but you are the new Miss Columbia in Wissota Superstock Racing. He's having a hard time finding victory lane this year, guys. It's been a struggle. He's been good second, third. He's been there every night. Finally wins it. Mod Nationals wins it. Ogilvy 78K down into victory lane, right? The whole hoopla, congratulations, thank your sponsors, write your name on the big check, blah, 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 all the accolades, right? Only to find out there was a scoring issue. And let's just say there was an electronic glitch. This sounds like a transponder issue. And they went back and they looked at the scoring and they're like, oh shit. We didn't throw a white, maybe threw the checkered twice. Not really sure what happened here, but Dennis Zeck is your official winner. So you got the person down there going, you got brake clean. I got to try to get this person's name off the check, and that, that's pain. I mean, the kid, reigning national champion, trying to start stacking some wins, finally gets the monkey off his back. Is like, holy shit, I finally got one here. Only to have it taken away like that. And turns out, I was kind of looking, and I looked online. I looked at his racing page, and usually, if they feel like they got slighted, they're pretty vocal about it. And basically, they said, it turns out Dennis won. And they just kept it professional on there. So that tells me that they probably ultimately got it right. And I'm an advocate of, you got to get it right. Whether it's the right call or whatever, you got to get it right. And they got it right. And with the electronic shit, scoring stuff, I mean, shit happens, right? It is what it is. I mean, what do you do in that situation, right? Do you kind of sit back and you're like, we're just going to pretend this didn't happen, Dexton won, and just shut up and pretend like nothing happened? Or do you got to come forward and say, I think we made a mistake here. I think Dennis is actually the winner. Did they handle that right? What do you guys think?
God, well, and I guess I wasn't exactly sure what happened there, but in my mind, when I saw the checkered flag, Dennis was definitely ahead. And I'm like, I mean, for them to get Dexton to go to victory lane, did they have to go chase him down, yelling at him in his ear, hey, get back here, you actually won? I mean, he had to have been dumbfounded at the moment, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
Dexton or Dennis?
No, I mean, Dennis had to have thought that he won. I mean, he was,
yeah, but Changa, they didn't throw a white flag.
I understand that.
They threw the check. They threw the checker twice. Right. It laid down. The one time Dexton was ahead.
Right. Well, that's what the scoring loop says. I didn't even think he was, but whatever. They were side by side. But certainly when they all let off the gas and quit racing, Dennis Zeck crossed the line first. And then you would think he would have just automatically driven to victory lane, and what they're probably in the thing saying, "All right, Dexton won, you get to victory lane." I mean, it had to have been just mass confusion. I can't even fathom what was going
Yeah,
through.
I don't think there was any confusion at first because you got receivers, right? So they're talking to you in your head, right? They're like, "All right, winner, Dexton Cook, go to victory lane." So automatically, so they're not trying to figure it out. It's like in your ear. You're not like, it's not like back when
Was this,
you
or was
we
it just a
raced.
flag man issue where he grabbed the wrong flag on the 1 to go lap?
No, it was a scoring deal. Something with Joey Jensen's transponder was not registering, so they were scoring him, and then all of a sudden it did start to register, so then it counted a lap extra or something happened there where it glitched the system because his wasn't working and then it did work. So it was all an electronic deal, and turns out I think they went 19 laps, and I think if they go one more lap, Dexton maybe wins that race because I think he looked like he was maybe going to get it, but tough deal, right? Because then of course the next night, him and Shane got together, up in the top 5 there, and both went to the back, and so the 78K searching, hunting, looking to try to get some wins here. They're coming. He's fast. He's been there. He's going to be happy that May is officially over. We're going to be on to June, and we can see 78K kind of getting a little redemption here moving forward.
And who would ever
Well, we got
would have been to June and he hasn't won a race yet?
Right. Yeah, nobody would have guessed that. There's no way.
we got one more Saturday of June or of May yet, so
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. He does have a couple more races in there. Kind of end that on a strong note, carry some momentum into the next month.
Hopefully.
So let's give a shout out to one of our new sponsors here, East Central Sports. So East Central Sports, right in Rush City, Minnesota, just north of the Twin Cities there. They're your number one source for pit bikes, kids ATVs, golf carts, Toro mowers, and a whole lot more. I mean, you're going to want to get over there, talk to Mac, and check out all their inventory. And I talked about it, right? I mean, we're not getting any younger. We don't move around quite as good as we used to. We do like to go to the races. So you want to have a nice golf cart. You want to have something, a pit bike, whatever it may be, to move around. And we go to the Bert, you go over to Eldora. We're going to the USA Nationals. I want to have a golf cart at the USA Nationals, right? So I can kind of mingle around a little bit and not have to walk around that whole premises. Well, that's the place to go. You're going to want to go to East Central Sports there in Rush City. And if you go there and you buy something, let them know you heard about his place, right? Let them know you heard about East Central Sports on the One to Go show. You're going to get a $100 discount on anything you purchase there. Give them a call to learn about the products they have. 320-358-1994, 320-358-1994, or check them out online at www.eastcentralsports.com. Thanks a lot to Mac and the gang over at East Central Sports, and check them out for sure. So some health scares. Health scares. Something we don't, you don't want to take lightly. This is kind of one of them topics and kind of brings back some memories. Couple things happen. Rice Lake, don't know all the details. CJ Hedges, I think he had some heart issues while he was racing, I believe. I don't know all the details. Sounds like he's kind of on the mend, but a hell of a health scare there for him. Bruce Stanley, uh, longtime mod guy back in the 90s, running a street stock. He was over at the Viking Speedway for the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour over there. Hell of a show they had. And so Bert, I don't know how it was at Shawano, but Viking, they got the pits in the infield, big half mile. Staging is kind of over towards turn 3. Back straightaway, you enter the track in turn 3. And in between heat 1 and heat 2 of the street stocks, there's dust flying and all that, and people are going crazy. They're like, what's going on over there, right? Well, sounds like Bruce, flu related dehydration, some kind of incident. Sounds like he passed out, car and gear on the gas. He was kind of spinning around and dust was flying. And, former racer, remember John Steppen, the old 3S, he ended up reaching in there and hitting the kill switch to kind of stop that. Thank God nobody got hurt, because, I mean, pretty tight quarters. You got everybody parked down in the infield. You got a car flailing around down there, guys, not with it. Boy, that right there is exactly why you don't have kids and all that running around aimlessly in the pits. And let's face it, we've seen adults run around aimlessly in the pits too, not just kids. But unbelievable how nobody got hurt. He did go in, get checked out. Sounds like he was okay, went home. I know that coach reached out and sounds like everything's kind of going okay there. Hell of a scare, but kind of makes a person think all the years we've been going to the races, have you is there any old health scares or tragic moments or anything that kind of makes you think about when, things happen that fast and it's like holy balls, we're not promised tomorrow, but anything ring a bell for either one of you guys?
Well, there's two that come to mind. One was, oh, at least 10 years ago, if not longer, at Manitowoc County Expo. Uh, a driver hit the wall and he actually passed away. But if I remember correctly, he didn't die from the accident. He actually had a heart attack, and that's what caused the accident. He had the heart attack while he was racing the car, and that's what happened. And the other one, um, was down in Beaver Dam, just, I don't know, like 3 years ago. I don't remember all the details uh, of it, but one of the drivers in the Grand National division raced his race, and then he was in the tech shed. He was still in his car, and something wasn't right, and if he was having a heart attack in the car after the race. But this one had a happy ending. They were able to get him medical attention, and he did survive that. So those are the two that come to mind for me.
Fortunately, and shout out to the safety crews at both of these tracks, because it sounds like they took care of things in a pretty timely fashion to keep them, both upright. Changa, anything ring a bell for you?
Nothing like that I can, really remember. And I'm sure there was some, but we were kind of locked into our own little world back in the pits while everybody else was checking out the happenings. Lots of injuries. People getting hit on racetracks. Obviously, the deal in Ogilvy and Cedar Lake in the last couple of years here, where people got hit. But as far as the heart attack or medical thing, I guess I just nothing really pops to mind.
Yeah, Dan Claude pops to mind for me, of course, family friend, one of my dad's best friends, worked with him for years, 1998 Labor Day shootout up at the Hibbing Raceway. After his heat, of course, he tragically passed from a heart attack there. And boy, that was a tough weekend right there, because like our families and the Tardy family, all of us super good friends with the Clauses, to have somebody that we knew very well, a good friend of the family, pass away at the track. That's a tough deal. So hopefully everybody's health kind of they're on the mend, and hopefully they get healed up, and hopefully they can be back at it soon here. I know you wouldn't believe this if I told you. Might have been a couple bad calls this weekend. Might have been a couple stuck. There's always bad calls, part of racing, right? But there's a couple that stuck out maybe a little bit more than others, right? Let's start with one of my home tracks up there in Grand Rapids. National championship contender Dustin Puffy in the pure stock division. Now, keep in mind, last year he lost by I think 2 points. Literally had the national point lead going into the final race of the year, and he lost it on the final night. He got passed and got beat, and tough deal. That one stings a lot, right? So extra motivated to get it done. He goes to Grand Rapids. Hell of a battle up front with Austin Carlson, third generation racer up there in Grand Rapids. Great battle for the lead. They get into lap traffic. Lapper goes kind of off the top of four, comes in and KOs Austin Carlson in the right rear. I think his tire went down, not positive, but needless to say, Puffy's there, Carlson's there. They get into 1 and 2. Carlson spins out, yellow comes out, right? Puffy never made contact, was never close. I mean, it was crazy. Caution comes out, they put him to the back. And it's like, I, I can see the lapper, I can see Carlson, but holy shit, right? Well, fortunately, there wasn't a ton of cars on the lead lap, and in the closing laps, he charged to the front, last lap pass, last corner to win after getting put to the back on a horrible call. So bad calls happen. It is what it is. Not trying to bang on Grand Rapids because every track has them, but that's a sign of adversity right there, right? Because a lot of people can lose their shit when they get put to the back. I've seen people, and you guys have too, they get a bad call like that. They're like, fuck that. I'm done. I'm out. And they just pull off the racetrack. See it all the time. I got a bad call. Didn't feel that was right. I'm out, right? He did not do that. He got back in line, drove to the front, won the race. That one win could be the difference between first and second in a national title race. Congrats, Dustin Puffy. Bert, what do you got?
Well, you were talking about, some people, if they get a bad call, they'll just pull off the race. And I've told this story on the show before, but I still smile and laugh every time I think about it. I went to a Wasota Challenge Series race at Red Cedar Speedway one year, and this is when Tom Nesbitt was still racing. And during the heat race, there was a call, and Nesbitt did not agree with the call. He got put to the back. So he's kind of racing by himself in the back, but every time he crossed the start finish line, he would flip off the flag man. And I mean, every lap after that, he did that. So that's why I laugh and chuckle every time when I think of that.
I can tell you right now, if he did that today, he'd probably be black flagged, probably be getting a letter from Wasota. Everybody's gotten soft, right? I love me some Tom Nesbitt stories, right? USMTS Modifieds Mason City on Sunday. Maybe one of the worst. I mean, this call stuck out too. This was bad. Good battle, right? And actually, it wasn't really a good battle. Cade Dillard kind of checked out. He was gone, right? He had a pretty good lead. He's in lap traffic, and Shadron Turner's running the bottom. Lance Murray's up banging the cushion, and Shadron Turner's kind of a little bit of a fish out of water there, getting lapped. And they come into 3 and 4. Dillard's on the bottom behind Turner. Murray's up on the cushion, jumps the cushion, gets out of shape. Didn't really affect anything. That was in 3 and 4. They come into 1 and 2. Cade Dillard flat out monster trucks Shadron Turner. I mean, literally drove. I don't know what he was thinking, right? Because Turner was on the bottom in the corner before that. He's like, well, I thought he was going to the top. Well, he went to the bottom of the corner before. I don't know what you're doing. Literally drove right into him, drove over him, spun him out. Caution comes out. And I'm thinking, well, one of two things is going to happen here, right? Dillard's going to go to the back because he clearly caused it, drove over a lapper, or sometimes they do the no fault caution rule, right? And I'm like, well, Turner stopped. They're going to put, whatever. They're like, yeah, the call's on the 19 of Lance Murray because he was out of shape in 3 and 4 on the high side. So that kind of created everything on the other end of the track. I'm like, what are we talking about here? I was flabbergasted. Bert, if Tom Nesbitt's in second in that race, how on a scale of 1 to 10, how many cops does it take to get him off the racetrack before he kills somebody?
Quite a few.
Oh my God, that was unbelievable. And then what was in the post race victory when Dillard, what was it? What was his comment?
Well, yeah, they talked to Dillard after the race, and he goes, I'm just glad that we all raced clean. And it's just like, what are you talking about? All race clean? You just drove into the lapper and caused all of that. But
Again, bad calls happen everywhere, but I mean, you think back, right? I mean, and I listen. I know a lot of times listen to the post race stuff, and Rodney Sanders gets second in this race. I'm like, I gotta listen to what Rodney has to say about this, right? I would expect some kind of a comment, and he didn't say nothing. It is what it is, and he just kind of easy going about it. I'm like, that's bull. You're no fun. That's soft, right? Like at the very least, you got to be like, I don't know, Stevie Wonder down there in the corner didn't apparently see him cause that. I mean, I think it was Lance, actually, Matthews. We'll probably talk about him more in a minute here. I think he had the Dakota Rumble one. Maybe it was Mitch. Lance or Mitch. I think it was Lance, though. Had the Dakota Rumble one over in Aberdeen and just flat out drove over a lap car, just monster trucked him. Guess what? Went to the back. Went to the back, cost him the win. I don't know. That was a tough deal. Cade Dillard is definitely the baddest man on the planet right now in modified racing, and it's not close. And he had the best car without question, not even a question about it. Probably got a gift, and he probably needs to keep that in his memory bank that when he gets a bad call at some point, because they tend to even out, he probably needs to sit back and go, well, I probably should have went to the back at Mason City. So, Changa?
Well, I got a couple thoughts. Number one, the lap car was kind of a floating roadblock. Number two, Dillard spun him out on purpose. And number three, lap cars have no rights. get out of the damn track, get off the track, get out of the way, or you're going to get spun out. I'm glad he wrecked him. I mean, it just is what it is.
He
All
he
he's going to
didn't
do is
cross
mess
it up
up
in
the
that
race.
corner. He didn't cross it up in that corner. And you know
He's
what?
so
If
slow.
he had Changa as a signal guy, right? If he had my right hand mine as a single guy, it would have been wide signals because he would. It's not like they were battling for the lead. If him and Sanders are in a straight up dogfight for the lead, the lapper's there, move his ass, right? He got fucking half a straightaway. Like you not have somebody giving you signals like, hey, you're gone. You can have patience for one corner. You don't need to be because you hit something with the front end of the modified. He just dang lucky he didn't cut a right front tire down.
He
I
knows
mean, huh?
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, Steve Arpin told me, right? Longhorn chassis, old double OA. He said when I moved up into modifieds, he says the number one thing you need to do in a modified is protect your right front tire. In a super stock, you can nose underneath somebody, kind of nudge them, right? In a modified, you'll get a flat. He's lucky he didn't get a flat. He's lucky he didn't get a flat. That if it would have been me, I would have got a flat for sure. So, couple violent crashes this past weekend in the sprint car realm. One involving one of them damn wall openings. We're talking about insurance and all that at some of these tracks, and insurance premiums are going up. And you still have tracks with frickin' wall openings that are flat out going to get somebody killed. There's a track up in Oregon up there. I don't remember the name of it, but up in Oregon, Tanner Holmes, who, by the way, this winter was pretty quick in some of the high limit races down there in the sprint car. They had a wall opening that it just looked from the camera view that I saw, it looked vicious. It looked really wide and it was like offset to where you like drive head on into the freaking tire. They got a tire there. I'm like, I've never seen anything like it. And he hit that freaking tire on the wall opening harder than anything that I've seen in a long time. I'm like, I can't believe that car didn't break in half. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. What sticks out to me is how on earth can racetrack promoters that have a deal like that look at that, right, and be like, well, that's okay. That's good. Well, nothing to see here. That's where I got to give a shout out to tracks like Mississippi Thunder Speedway, right? Because we've watched, we talked about it for a number of years. We're like, holy shit, that wall opening getting a one's gonna kill somebody. That thing is like literally, I flinch. I'm not even in the car, and I'm watching some of these guys bang the boards, and I'm going, oh shit, like they're gonna fucking kill somebody, right? And they realized that's a problem. They got rid of the wall opening, changed that whole deal, made their place safer. That's great, right? And other tracks have done it too. Tracks like that, I would have to think after an incident like that, they're going to rethink that wall opening and make some changes. I would sure hope, right? I'm going to look online and I'm going to kind of follow along to see if they do that. I'd be very curious. The other one that happened, Port Royal, Zach Hampton, who actually came off like a pretty good run here just a week ago. Holy shit, did he roll? He hit, I mean, that thing took off. He jumped tires. Was it with Brian Brown or somebody? He jumped tires with somebody and he yard sailed that deal into the fence. And that car freaking disintegrated when it hit the wall. I'm like, oh my God. And the safety equipment in these cars for him to get out, walk away, they checked him out, put him in the ambulance. But boy, oh boy. I mean, you see some of these. That's what I mean. Let's face it. There's a certain percentage of people that go to sprint car races only for the crashes. Just is what it is because they have the most violent crashes. Like it or not, it's just a fact of life. And those they're worth looking up. Port Royal high limit race. Tanner Holmes on Facebook. Look them up. Holy shit, were they violent? But fortunately, both drivers were okay in these instances. But guys, what are these tracks ever going to get it together with these wall openings?
Yes.
I would have to think.
Eventually, sanctioning bodies are going to mandate it, or they ain't going to come to your track.
I would think,
Well,
right?
and I was just going to say you would think that insurance companies would have something to say about that too. I mean, I don't know how close insurance companies inspect a racetrack before they issue insurance to a track, but if they do inspect the track, that should be one of the first things they look for.
Well, especially with social media now, right? Because you think back 20 years ago, shit like this happened. I'm sure it happened. I'm sure it happened plenty, right? But you didn't see the video of it on Monday. You didn't. It wasn't out there. So this stuff's been happening for a while. But with all these video clips getting onto social media, whether it's X or on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, there's only a handful of insurance companies out there. I guarantee they're watching. So I mean, we want racetracks to survive. It's not going to happen with wall opening crashes. That's for sure. Speaking of sanctioning bodies, WISSOTA back at it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we talked about this a couple weeks back, right? They were checking the left rear of Shane Sabraski's car. And long story short, certain tech guys wanted him illegal. Certain tech guys are like, it's not even a rule. What I'm talking about, left rear shock wouldn't go all the way in. They actually, so there's a little bit more to this story. So the shock wouldn't go in. Again, not a rule. Wasn't a rule. So it doesn't need to freaking go in. So this no indictment on 7A or anybody, right? They actually took the time to take the shock into the building behind closed doors, nobody there, had to put it on a fucking lift, like a car lift or whatever, to get it to compress down in. They couldn't get the freaking shock to compress in by hand. No freaking possible way. They had to use other means to get the shock to compress. Well, WISSOTA officially came out with a rule update. The rule update, let me read this here. The rule update says this: all shocks must be able to be collapsed by hand only, all the way with no rod showing. You are not permitted to release gas pressure from the shocks before collapsing them. That is a new rule. It makes no sense. I get trying to keep the cost of shocks down and all that, and they're like, "Oh, we're checking for bump stops in the left rear," which again, you're an idiot if you think they're a bump stop in the left rear, because shocks go up on the left rear, not down. And again, we're gonna run into a situation where somebody had a floating piston issue where oil got past it and the shock don't compress. You're going to have a bent or nicked shaft. There's going to be an issue with a perfectly legal shock. Okay. It's going to happen. There will be an issue with a perfectly legal shock that does not go in all the way by hand, and drivers are now going to be disqualified for it. We are making rules where rules do not need to be made. This is just absolutely unbelievable. And drivers, check your shit, right? That's all I got to say, right? The stuff's out there. It's on the, I think they put it on Facebook. It's on the WISSOTA website. I assume everybody got an email from WISSOTA. At least I would hope. But that's the new rule. They are checking shocks, left rear, even the left rear. You got to be able to push them all the way in by hand, not releasing gas pressure. So if you got a left rear shock that's stiff as shit under low speed, you better make sure you can push that in, because if you can't, you're done. It's just the way it is. So how about this one? Banning your top driver. So we're in a world now, and again, I don't have all the details. There's a lot of he said, she said in this shit, but this is pretty notable stuff. Former national champion, WISSOTA Modified Division, Ward Emery, one of the best drivers up north of the border, races up at did race at the Victory Lane Speedway up in Winnipeg. Hell of a race car driver. I think he might have 2 national championships, to be honest with you. Well, a lot of he said, she said. I don't know all the pieces, but long story short, he has been banned and is no longer able to race at his home track at the Victory Lane Speedway. Now, there's some good drivers up there, right? Of course, Ricky Weiss, multiple-time national champ. Little trouble. We're not going to get into all that, but Ricky's kind of got his own stuff going on. He's down in Tennessee now. But Shane Edgington, right? There's some good race car drivers. Kevin Sexton, guy I raced against in the Supers. But Ward Emery, arguably one of the best drivers up there for a long time, banned, no longer able to attend. Sounds like there's been a lot of banter back and forth between him and the promoter's family and so on and so forth. I don't know all the details on that, but That's unfortunate, right? He got a lot of fans. Top drivers, big, good race car drivers got a big fan base. Another phone call there because I don't apparently know how to use do not disturb. I don't know. I got nothing. I'm not really sure.
Reels on that.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I hit it
But
twice.
yeah, no kidding. So unfortunate, right? Because when you lose a top driver, you lose fans. It just is what it is. Well, we're in a world today in weekly racing, you can't lose either one, right? Racing's not in a very good spot. So, Bert, over in your edge of the woods, boy, I haven't seen much of this, but has there been any drivers in eastern Wisconsin ever been banned from racetracks? Just flat out don't come here anymore?
I can only think of one, and this was probably 10 years ago or so. Do you remember when Mark Rose raced late models?
I do remember Mark Rose in the late model. Yep.
Yes. He got banned from Shawano Speedway. One night, there was an incident between him and Aaron Wickersham, and Rose blamed Wickersham and was kind of berating him on pit road. I mean, didn't throw any punches or anything, but was kind of berating him. And the promoter at the time banned him. Never come back.
Oh,
He was allowed to race in future Dirt King races at Shawano Speedway, but no regular programs. And I, as far as I know, the band is still there. I mean, I didn't even think it was worth a suspension. I mean, kick him out for the night. That's what I thought it was worth. But yeah, he got banned from Shawano Speedway.
bad boys. What you gonna do? Changa, I can't think of anybody in our neck of the wood that's ever been straight up banned from a racetrack. Not that I can think of. I mean, I've seen suspensions and hell, I've been suspended myself. So I've seen all that, but straight up banned, yeah, I can't think of too much about that. I know there was an incident up Devil's Lake Speedway. One of the drivers up there, allegedly, I wasn't there, but pretty good source said that kind of had a physical altercation with the promoter, and he ain't no longer able to race there. So that's happened. But yeah, so unfortunate deal. I mean, I hope they can somehow, some way. One has to hope that, and maybe it's gone too far, or whatever. But boy, I mean, it'd just be good for racing if there was a way that they could just kind of work their shit out, right? That's a bad deal. It's a bad deal for the racetrack, bad deal for racing, bad deal for everybody when you're one of your top drivers is no longer able to race there, and might be warranted. Don't know all the details. That's above my pay grade here, but yeah, Ward Emery not going to be winning races at Victory Lane Speedway anytime soon. So, who's hot? Who's not? Brought to you by our friend Brad Parson. Brad Parson's Soil and Egg Solutions. So, if you're in Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, if you're in farming, you know one thing. You get the right chemicals into those spray packages. It's going to give you better yields. Better yields puts more money in your pocket. More money in your pocket. You buy cooler race car shit. You're faster. It's just a perfect storm, right? So it starts there. It starts with having the right chemicals in those spray packages. And if you give Brad a call, 320-219-3542, he can fill you in on all the data you need to learn about the products that they have. A lot of great data. He can get you all the information. But if you want to be more profitable in your farming endeavors, it starts there. Give Brad Parson a call, 320-219-3542. So, Bert, a lot of racing happened this past week. And before we get into our best of the week stuff, who's hot? Who sticks out to you? Who's hot?
Nationally, I know we're not supposed to go with we're try to avoid drivers who have won the races during the week, but I can't avoid this driver because somebody on this show had this driver's season dead and buried, and I think he even spit on the grave at one point. But Hudson O'Neill was on a roll last week. Well, he's actually been on a he's been racing pretty good for the last few weeks, but I mean, he got 2 victories last week, and definitely shows that he's a driver that other drivers are going to have to contend with.
I think Chongo was talking shit about him, so I'm pretty sure I remember that. Um, maybe it was Kraus, not sure. No, I kind of ruled him out. I said, boy, I tell you what, he's been in a slump. Is he ever going to get relevant again? 4 straight wins he had at Lucas Oil Speedway, 2 earlier this year with their Spring Nationals deal. First 2 nights of the Show Me 100 week. Had the lead at the Show Me and relinquished that lead. Of course, Bobby Pierce got the win, but 4 straight wins at Lucas Oil Speedway and a third. I mean, if he wins at the Show Me 100, they might as well just rename that place Hudson O'Neal Speedway, but the old smooth operator got her done there. So yeah, Hudson O'Neal, he's definitely hot. Moved into 4th too, guys. Looking at the points here, he has moved solidly into that 4th and final point standing spot. So he's looking pretty good there. Bert, anybody else on the hot list?
Locally, I'm going to go with Mitch McGrath. He did win the Dirt Kings race at Shino Speedway, but he almost won the Dirt Kings race the night before at Outagamie Speedway in Seymour, and he was pressuring for the lead late, but couldn't quite pull off that victory. But a second and a first, not too bad.
After he sniped you, I'm surprised that you put him on there. He sniped you. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Chonga, who's hot?
I guess the first, my first one I had on my list is Billy Kendall. Billy Kendall is last weekend. He had a third, a second, and a third, just stacking together quality top 5 finishes, and proving himself to be a contender up north here. Kurt Myers, 4 first and a second in his last 5 races. Clayton Wagaman, 3 firsts, a third, and a 7th in his last 5.
That first win at the Mod Nationals, what did he win from 16th or something like that?
Yeah.
That was impressive.
Yes.
He almost completed the trifecta because he got 2 firsts and a third. He actually threw a haymaker slider on Sobraski, and Sobraski crossed him over. Had a shot to win that deal and make it 3 in a row there. So Wagaman has been really, really good.
I got Eric Crosby in the Pure Stocks, 3 wins, a third, and a fourth since his opening night DQ at Cedar Lake. Then I guess the only other one I have is Blake Adams. Just keeps stacking wins in that A-Mod. He's up to 7 feature wins in the A-Mod. That's unbelievable.
If I would have said at the beginning of the year, the old 40D, Blake Adams is going to have way more wins in the A mod than he does in the B mod, when he's basically started out the season going, hey, we're going to go after a national title in the Midwest Mod Division. Everybody would have said you're full of shit, but boy, I tell you what, that mod fits him well. I mean, I don't want to say he's been struggling in the B mod. He's been up front, but he's been struggling to get wins. And so, boy, I tell you what, he's going to be fun to watch. To chip off the old block there, Blake Adams. I'm going to go with a couple grassroots guys here. I'm going to go with Ashton Schwinn, 3 straight wins in the Mod 4 division over at the North Central Speedway. Second generation driver there. Dustin Puffy, we talked about the overcoming adversity. He had 3 straight wins this weekend. I think he finished just off the podium. I think he got 4th on Monday, but he had 3 wins in a row this weekend in the Pure Stock. So you said Eric Crosby, I believe, has 3 as well, right? So that's going to be the battle to watch, in my opinion. There might be somebody else sneaks into there, but early on, it's going to be Eric Crosby, Dustin Puffy head to head for a national championship, both of them sitting at 3 wins. Superstock guy over in Western Minnesota, Sean Fernkiss. 5 starts, 3 wins, 3 in a row, actually. So 3 wins in a row for Sean Fernkiss over there. Boy, I tell you what, he's got it going on. And then Street Stock division, Kyle Dykoff winning both nights of the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour opening weekend over at the High Flying Half Mile at the Viking Speedway. Extremely, extremely fast. He took a year off. Took some time off last year, dabbled a little bit, but coming off that national championship, took some time off. And I tell you what, he's going to be a contender yet again. All right, who's not, Bert?
I just have one in the not hot, and well, before I say who, before I get into it, I just want to thank him though for coming to Eastern Wisconsin to race in the Dirt Kings races. But I'm gonna go with Jake Radetsky. I'm sure that he was hoping for better results making the trip to Eastern Wisconsin. Sunday night, he got seventh place in the feature at Outagamie Speedway in Seymour. And then at Shawano, he did not start the feature. I don't know if it was because didn't like the track conditions or if something broke, but he did not start the feature.
Yeah, he's I was expecting more from him this past weekend, but I guess we'll see what happens. Changa, who's not?
Well, I guess first one on my list is someone that I was looking for some big things out of this year. I'm gonna go with Kennedy Swan. Okay, 8 races. She's got a fourth, two fifths. Everything else is a DNF or else outside of the top 10. Hoping that maybe we put her on this not hot list. It'll kind of do what it does for everybody else and spark a little resurgence and get some momentum back on their side. Um, and the other one I got Brad Sweet, 10 straight races without a win.
He'll fifth place you to death, though. That's what he does. He will fifth place
Yeah.
you to death all day long. Brad Sweet, boy, how many years in a row have we found him on the not hot list, Bert? I mean, he's kind of a regular, but guess what? Here's the freaking crazy part. He's on the not hot list and he's leading points. He's on the not hot list every year and he wins the championship every single year. And it's like the guy just he doesn't win very often, but he's always kind of lurking around that top 5. That's just kind of his happy place. I'll stick with the sprint car theme here. I'm going to go Donnie Schatz. Um, I, I we thought maybe when they changed the engine deal, he was gonna that was gonna light a fire there, and it did for like all weekend. And I mean, we're talking guys. I don't know how to say it because it's painful. Like he's our guy. He's a former Wasota guy. He's a upper Midwest guy. He is about as not relevant as you can get in sprint car racing right now. I mean, he can't sniff top 5s. I mean, he can't even sniff them, much less barely getting on the top 10. I mean, he's got like a ton of races in a row where he's just sniffing around 10th, 12th, and Donnie Schatz. I'm not sure what's lacking there. Maybe father time, kind of, showing who's boss. I'm not positive, but Donnie Schatz, he's definitely on the not hot list. Is there a driver that had a worse weekend in national late model racing than Garrett Alberson? Garrett Alberson was solidly in the top 4, the final 4. Remember, top 4 in Lucas Oil standings go to the chase. He was sitting in 4th, had a pretty healthy lead, and he freaking tattooed the wall. I think that car probably went back to Longhorn. I'm not positive.
He cut
Just
it down, and I saw a video of them tearing it apart to send it back.
Yeah, I figured he hit it pretty good. Just a terrible weekend. He's glad they're not back at Lucas Oil Speedway anytime soon, but just struggle bus. What could go wrong did go wrong. Um, I don't have it. Maybe I do have it in front of me. I think he is literally um, he's 150 points behind Hudson O'Neal now. He's 5th place in points, 150 points back, and he's only 75 points ahead of Overton and 85 points ahead of Rocket One. So he had as good of a weekend as Hudson O'Neal had for the points in Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series. Garrett Alberson had just a miserable weekend. And then I'm going to go with the One to Go Show 83 team, Dulciac Racing. Brian Dulciak, second night out, shelled a motor. I think a head gasket. I don't think he blew up, but it basically locked up. Probably he had water in the oil after time trials, so he didn't even get to race. I went down 4,300 to win race down at Fairbury this past weekend. 44 street stocks in the house. He went out for time trials. They do hot lap time trials, so you get 2 laps, and that's your hot laps and your time trials together. It wouldn't even run. Smoking, all loaded up. I'm like, oh my God. Needless to say, qualified like 40th out of 44. Started in the back of the heat, and as good as late model racing is down there, the rest of the racing in the heats anyway ain't very good because they kind of moved the tires in straight marbles, and it just went from bad to worse. He finished back of the heat, back of the feature, didn't make the show. My fun meter was straight pegged. I almost left after time trials because I knew what was going to happen. The night was over. I left at intermission. I didn't even stick around for the features. Turns out I should have because it sounds like there was a hell of a Donnybrook at the end of that street stock feature. Sounds like things got pretty rowdy there. But I went home. I 2 hour 15-minute drive. I was 20 minutes from home before the last feature was done. So I got a hell of a head start. I had enough of that situation, and they have got to get it together. Them 83 cars gonna have to find a little luck, a little speed, because right now I don't know if there's anybody more solid on the hot not list than those two drivers right now. All right, boy.
I do
All right.
have one more, I guess, that I didn't even remember, but Tanner English too. I think he launched like 3 engines in like the last 3 nights and wound up in someone else's car the end of last weekend.
Yeah, I don't want to put it on the engine builder. Who knows what happened there, but that is a bad that sounds really expensive for the old Coltman Farms boys down there. They're going to be digging in their pockets after the past week or so here for sure. So let's jump into our best of the week, brought to you by Fast Lane Motorsports and Powder Coating right up in Ashland, Wisconsin, home of the Galloper chassis, #1 sponsor of the #1 series in all of WISSOTA racing. That is the Northland Superstock Series, which is slated to get underway. We are just literally just a days away from the start of the Superstock Series, jacked up for that. But they build chassis, they do custom sandblasting, powder coating, fabricating, you name it, they do it all. Service a lot of different racetracks. They're the parts truck at a bunch of tracks. They can get you any part, anything racing related, safety equipment, tires, shocks, wheels, any part you need. They can get it. They can get it right at the store. They can drop ship it to you. Chris and the gang, great group of people up in Ashland, Wisconsin. Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating. Give them a call, 715-682-3278 for all your racing needs. So we're gonna do our best of the week. And I got a lot of notes here. We're gonna do this fast, and it just is what it is. You get almost 100 races. We ain't gonna be able to catch them all. We'll catch what we can, give the shout outs where we can, and help us out, right? Sometimes we miss some stuff. So if you're a fan out there and you like hearing about your local racing, your local racers, don't be afraid to reach out to any of us and say, hey, don't don't forget to give this guy a shout out or this gal a shout out, or hey, did you see this? Because we miss stuff. I mean, we can only catch so many races. We could have a lot bigger staff, that's for sure. So let's start with the grassroots stuff. And Bert, I know you said you didn't get a chance to watch a whole lot of WISSOTA racing, but you do have some stuff from over in eastern Wisconsin for sure. But Changa, anything on the grassroots end of things stick out to you this past week?
Well, I think we already touched on the whole Grand Rapids pure stock deal, that race with Puffy. But I guess I called you on my lunch break, and you asked me anything stick out to you, any bad calls, anything stick out, and I'm like, God, the only thing I have a question on is this pure stock race in Grand Rapids. Why the hell did Puffy restart fifth on that last restart? He told me he got sent to the back. I'm like, what for? I mean, he didn't have nothing to do with that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I'm glad he was able to redeem himself. Last corner pass for the win there.
I sent the video of that over to the promoter, and he's like, "Oh shit!" He goes, "I don't know what them guys were thinking, but they got that one wrong." So Bob said, "I'm probably gonna have to talk to him about that and say, hey, sorry, thank God he won, right? Because you lose one that way, oof, that's painful. But thank God he won that one."
I guess Grand Rapids, the Hornet feature there, they had a good 4-car battle for the win right at the end there too, with a guy by the name of Russell Kiker, is it?
It's either Kiker or Keeker, I'm not really sure, but yeah, Russ Kiker Jr. Incidentally, he runs WISSOTA and IMCA both.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
They had a 400 to win special up at Thunder City last Thursday for the Hornets as well. A guy by the name of Jesse Owen won that. Nothing really notable about it, but it was nice to see the Hornets getting rewarded with something, a nice band show there.
Yeah, so speaking of the Hornets, Chase Poirier got one done over there. He actually back-to-back wins. I didn't see what he did Sunday. I guess I did see it, but I didn't write it down. He might have went 3 for 3. I'm not positive, but I know he won at I-94 and at Viking Friday, Saturday. So he started out the week strong. Didn't get a chance to see how he finished it. Then we got Jarek Stabler. He did a little announcing. Actually, Jarek Stabler back-to-back wins over at Fiesta City Speedway in Montevideo. You got Bobby Arns, win number 4 on the year for Bobby Arns. Boy, him and Tony Jensen. Tony Jensen got 6 wins on the year already. Remember, they only take your top 20 shows, right? So he's got 6 wins. We're not even to the end of May. That's a pretty darn good start for the national title race right there in the Hornet division. Jumping on into the Pierre stocks, you talked about Puffy. Aaron Burnick got his first of the year over at the Gondikla Speedway opener. Derek Ament, though, a rookie, ran a Hornet 00 car, second place finish, nice podium finish to start his campaign. You talked about Crosby, his third of the year. Graybon got it done over at Rice Lake. Mod 4s, Glenn Asmus over in Casper, Wyoming, 3 for 3 to start the season over there. Dustin Holquist, of course, perennial national championship contender, the 5H, 14th to win. Win number 4, 14th to win night number 2 that was over at Ogilvie. Tyler Larson got his 30-year one the first night. I don't have the Sunday stuff down. Sorry if I missed you. Ashton Schwinn, we talked about him, third straight win over at North Central. I do want to shout out Northern. I'm going to talk a lot about Northern Renegade sprint car stuff. Ken Roan he's been a bad man. I know he won at Brainerd, he won at Grand Rapids. I want to give a shout out though to Chris Lewis, who won the opener at Gondikla Speedway. That was a pretty darn good race. I was kind of down on those traditional sprints. Kaylee Emerson brought them to the light and kind of turned into a pretty good class up there. Chris Lewis actually was up into like third, fell back, bobbled really hard, hit a rut, fell back to sixth. It looked like Ken Roan was just going to cruise to a super easy win yet again at the Grand Rapids Speedway. Lewis chased him down from almost a straightaway and literally just too little too late at the end. But going to be fun to watch Lewis and Ken Roan, two of the better drivers in them sprint cars up there. And
that actually Northern Renegade race at Gondik was actually good at the end with Chris Lewis leading and Kaylee Emerson threw a slider and
he
Lewis
did
come back
right.
to win it. So that was a fun one too. Yeah,
that was fun. And then our boy, right, Cade Nelson, Littlehammer, he actually brought the limited late model, USRA late model over to Eagle River. I did see him out testing, I believe yesterday in the Wissota late model too. You were there, so
I saw Daryl in his late model and Cade in his late model.
All right, so the 44 cars are going to be on the track in their late models soon, so I'm excited about that. So some pretty fun stuff in the grassroots stuff. Street stock division, and that could be stock cars too, Bert. Anything stick out Eastern Wisconsin on the stock cars? We'll let you start. What do you got over there?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Last Friday night at Luxie Raceway in Luxembourg, they had. I didn't see the finish, but I read it on Facebook. I read about it on Facebook that apparently R.M. Van Pay, Benji Lacrosse, and Luke Lemons finished almost side by side, 3 wide, crossing the finish line, and R.M. Van Pay won the slim victory. RM, he's most known for racing modifieds, but he has also raced late models. Back in the 1990s, he raced late models. He's got a lot of racing experience. And then Saturday night, 141 Speedway had a stock car special. It was $1,000 to win, and Luke Lemons won that one. And then at Shawano Speedway, the Machansky brothers were racing each other, and Nate Machansky beat Dan Machansky, and they finished 1-2 in the feature at Toronto Speedway in the stock car division.
I tell you what, that IMCA stock car division is some of the best racing that you will ever see. I mean, it is fantastic. Same thing with Wissota Streets, USRA stock cars. I mean, that is And we all like late models. We all like sprint cars. We all like it all, right? But street stocks and stock car racing is super fun. Changa, how about you? What do you got for street stocks?
I watched a handful of them. I watched the street stocks on Thursday up at Thunder City. AJ Keller brought it home checker, followed by Kyle Bolt and Trey Hess. It was a runaway. Nothing notable about that one. I watched Grand Forks on Thursday. John Helverson won, followed by Greg Jose and someone I don't know, Seth Kleinstrake. Um,
Yes,
but
Seth Klostrike. You remember a guy by the name of Barry Robertson, number 10, that Ford car used to run super, used to pit for him,
yep,
and Greg Josie. Yeah, yeah.
anyhow, that race, it started off. Cole Gressa started up front like fourth, and he got up to second and breaks. And then Colton Brower goes seventh to second, and the car got sideways, hit him in the right front, took him out, and then that was kind of the two, what I would say, top guys got knocked out of the race there. And that was kind of the notable thing with that. Casino Speedway, one of our boys in our texting stream with our One to Go Show texting stream put me onto this one to watch. Michael Bow, is it? Bogh.
Yep, Bo.
Yep. Okay. Won that one. Jody Michelson second, Andy Rosso third, Trey Hess fourth. But I did that one. You could have thrown a blanket over the top four. They were, three wide, four wide, slicing and dicing. You didn't have any clue who was going to win that thing right till the end. That was a really, really good one to watch the last 5 laps. Um, Watched Viking Saturday night. Kyle Dykoff kind of killed them, but notable thing from that was Nick Trainer 19th to second. Um, Sunday night, same thing. Dykoff wins, but Trainer started 11th on the second night and got to him and got inside of him near the end of that one. That was just turned into a restart fest at the end, and they could just never get rolling to where they could battle for long enough.
Yeah, that I'm telling you, that's some pretty good stuff over there. What do you got there, Bert?
I have one more stock car item. I just remembered this. Um, Taylor Scheffler, known for racing a late model, he was racing an IMCA stock car at Outagamie Speedway in Seymour, and I can't remember how he did. He was outside the top 5 in the feature, but he had posted on Facebook. Then the next day or 2 days later, I think they were heading down to Iowa to race stock cars. So these late model drivers and mod drivers, as these higher paying specials come on board for stock cars, they're starting to dabble in that class.
Well, I think the USRA stock cars this week, what is it, 25? What is it, 25,000 or 10,000? It's big money at Mississippi Thunder as well. So you'll see some of the IMCA guys coming over for that. Um, I actually watched out at Electric City Speedway out in Great Falls, Montana. I actually was looking at my race pass stats, and I saw that Dustin Collins got his first career win, first career feature win. So congratulations to him. And I'm like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, maybe it was kind of one lane or whatever. Holy shit, is that place fast? Like literally, I watched it online. RMX Sports, you can actually catch the footage online. And there was a 4-car battle for the lead. He held off charges from 3 different drivers, Travis Shoemate, Caden Craver, Rob Petrov. They gave him everything he could handle. Place had a lot of grip. I don't know if it's always like that or if it rained a little bit, but holy shit, they get around that place. Kind of reminded me of a River City Speedway, where it's got a little bit of bank. It's kind of a bowl, carries a lot of speed through the center of the corner. Pretty fun little racetrack over in Electric City. Congratulations, Dustin Collins, first career win. You mentioned Cole Gresseth. We talked a little bit about him last week. He got a pair of wins this week, I-94, and he won at Jamestown as well. So 2 wins, 6 on the year. You said he probably maybe had the car to beat up in Grand Forks as well. Finished the weekend off with a second over in Lisbon. Telling you what, Cole Gresseth is a national championship contender. He's been racing all year long. That battle is going to be fun all year long. Colton Brower, who happens to be up in Thunder Bay right now as we speak, doing the show on a Wednesday, he won at Rice Lake. Then he traveled over to Bemidji and the Chicken Shack Nationals, won both nights over there. 3 wins for the KOL 34. We talked about Dykoff doubling up. Keith Tourville, his 4th straight win. I was surprised though, right? So he wins at Fiesta City, and I don't know if he went anywhere the rest of the weekend. I'm not positive. I kind of thought maybe being he was already over that direction, he'd be at the Viking Speedway for their doubleheader. He did not show up there. Keith Tourville, a kid that when he gets in a car, he's super fast. Surprise, surprise on the winner at the Red Cedar Speedway, Cody Coomer, absolute powerhouse over there. Greg Josie, who you did mention, he did win up in Greenbush as well. Sorry to the Sunday races and of course the Monday races. I didn't see what happened in Madison. Who did win in Madison? Do you remember who won in Madison, Changa?
Yeah. No, I don't.
I don't remember off the top of my head either.
I didn't write it down.
Maybe I'll look it up here. So Midwest mods, sport mods, right? Hobby mods, whatever you want to call them, depending on where you're at. So Bert, any sport mod stuff over in Eastern Wisconsin?
I didn't pay too much attention to the sport mod, so you'll have to skip me on that. I'll do better next week.
That's all right. That's all right. Changa, what do you got on the Midwest mods?
Well, I watched the Midwest mods up at Thunder City Speedway. Tyler Vernon brought a home checker there. Uh, the notable thing was David Simpson was, finally getting the car out, starting the race. He's leading the race. Yellow comes out and he pulls up to the high side of the track. Looked like he was pointing out some debris or something, maybe. And before they went green again, he just pulled off. I don't know what the case was there, but it looked like he maybe had the car to beat, and we didn't get to see it, unfortunately. Matt Shaw getting it done up in River Cities. Austin Hunter had a good charge from like 8th or 9th to 2nd. One of my local guys, Paul Ripley, winning down in Ashland, followed by David Simpson and Tyler Vernon. Then Ogilvy, we had Rodine, Jake Smith, and Joey Jensen. So 3 different winners. Got to see Jake Smith on the podium all 3 nights.
Hey,
And
congrats, Joey Jensen, brand new dad.
yes,
I was wondering, he missed night number 1. I'm like, where the hell's Joey at, right?
Yep.
He might have missed night 2 as well, but yeah, he had a brand new baby here this past week. Congratulations to him. And of course, he didn't take him long to find victory lane after that as well.
Then I guess the only other one I really watched was Brandon Jensen won down in Menominee, and he had a late race, like last lap challenge from Shadow Kitchener. He got next to him, and I think they bumped, and he got into a tractor tire and fell back to 3rd. And
Was Kraus driving that?
well, it's this guy was actually knocked into the tire,
Oh,
not
okay.
necessarily just drove straight into it. So I doubt it.
Hey, I got to circle back. Almost had to give myself a donkey award there. Got to circle back. Street stock race, over in Madison. Josh Long putting the 71 in victory lane, and I'm like, something happened there. What happened there? I didn't have it written down, but he's been racing 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, and he runs up front all the time. Like he's in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I mean, he's always there. And they said first career feature win. I'm like, no fucking way. There's no way, right? Sure as heck. I messaged him. He's like, first one. I'm like, oh my God. So congratulations, Josh Long. Almost missed it. We did not. First career feature win up in Madison. That's awesome. And then
I did have one more street stock note too, since you went back to street stocks. We did have a Justin Vogel sighting.
Right, he is alive. Oh my
Yes.
God.
And not only was he alive, he was pretty sporty. He was battling, he wasn't going to beat Dykoff, but he was battling for that 2nd place spot there for a while, got a little too high, slid back to like 6th. And then the other notable Midwest mod thing I had was Onyx Johnson winning at Monty, getting his first ever Wasota feature win.
Of course, his dad, multi-time national champion. I think he has a Challenge Series championship for 2 as well. The millennial farmer, Zach Johnson. Keep an eye on him, of course, in the Challenge Series. He's going to be a contender all 4 of these races coming up on his home turf. But Onyx Johnson, first career win in the Midwest Mod. That's pretty awesome. Big race coming up next weekend in Menominee. Brandon Jensen looking tough going into it. He had a pretty dominating win, 3 wins in 4 races for Brandon Jensen. Out at Black Hills, surprise, surprise, Troy Liker win number 5 in 7 shows for the 17 ride out there. Boy, oh boy, if they just had another racetrack or 2 to race at, he might be it might work out. He could still end up in the national championship contention, but he's got to be almost perfect with the limited number of races they get out there. Jake Bosch over at Casper. Did you mention Nate Reinke at I-94? 7 wins at I-94 in 2024 for the 71 of Nate Reinke. My favorite number. That's why he's fast. It's Huddy, right? Josh Long, Nate Reinke. It's a 71. It's what they do. But started 8th. Absolute dominating fashion. Parked it in victory lane there. You mentioned Paul Riffley. Memphis Clausen, 17-year-old kid, Dead Horse Creek Speedway up north of the border. His first career win in the Midwest Mod Division. Congratulations. Another driver here, you mentioned Jake Smith winning at Ogilvy. I'm not exactly sure how many wins he has, but he's approaching 6, 7 right now. If you count everything that's happened this year, I think one at Cedar Lake. Jake Smith, talented race car driver, former national championship driver. He could be in contention. Another guy, Travis Engebretson over at Viking Speedway, has been really good as well. The other guy that's going to be a super contender over for that $2,000 to win show in Menominee, the guy that won at Rice Lake on Saturday, Nick Kaler. He is very, very fast and former national champion. I think former WISSOTA 100. I don't know if he won a natty. Former WISSOTA 100 winner Brennan Waite got it done. 24-car field up in Jamestown. So, pretty good. Pretty good amount of racing there in the Midwest Mods. Probably, you look back in the mid 90s, early 2000s, super stocks was kind of the class to be in. There was 700 of them. I mean, it was Midwest Mods is that division now. That's where the numbers are. There's some really good Midwest Mod stuff going on. Super stocks, Changa. Super stocks. What sticks out to you in the super stock division?
Well, I watched Thunder City. Kolchernowski wins like every other time, right? But he didn't pull away from Polanoski or Rick Simpson this time. He was just, he won. Never never too challenged too much, but didn't really pull away. Kurt Myers won at Gondik Law. Give a shout out to Andy Grimal, one of our buddies and former pit crew members. He led that race for a long, long time until the old ashtray got him near the end there. So that was good to see Andy running up front. Ashland, Steve Stewart held off Terrence Spacek to win. Kind of a decent battle at Red Cedar. Jesse Radetsky won, and Terrence Spacek was second. And Spacek might have had a car capable of beating him, but the track was just super narrow. There just wasn't enough racetrack at that point in time of the night for him to complete the deal there. And then, like I said, Ogilvy, Dexton won, and Joey Jensen won, and what was it? Dennis Zek won, and Joey Jensen won. I don't remember who won the other one there.
You got to pour salt in the wounds there with Dexton, don't you? You know, he didn't actually win that race there,
I did that pretty well, didn't I?
Are you rubbing shit in here, or what do we got going on here? That's not very professional of you.
Put him on the show, actually.
Hey, Kurt Myers, he's been hot. He's got 3 in a row this week, and he won both nights up in Bemidji, and he won over at Gondikla Speedway. Nothing against Kurt, but I got to be honest, I did not want him to win at Gondikla Speedway. We wanted our old pit guy there. We wanted Giamala to park it in victory lane. Came up 1 spot short. Not bad for his first night out, but he's been good. Cole Chernosky doing what he does up in Thunder Bay. No surprise. Big special. I think it's a couple grand to win out of Electric City Speedway. I kept an eye on that. Casey Stephenson won that one, and he had to work for it. It was sticky, and he had to work his way through. Pacer Popham got second. I think Pacer Popham back in the 90s is a former WISSOTA Street Stock national champion.
Yeah, back when I was racing street stocks.
Yep. He was good, and his kid PJ got 4th. Tribble got 3rd. We talked about Sean Ferncase. He's been really, really good. Sobraski doing what he does. 5 wins so far. Steve Stewart winning the opener up at the ABC Raceway. Steve Stewart has won in just about everything there is to win up in Ashland. Dan Nisulke getting his first of the year over at the Cedar Lake Speedway. Matt Miller getting it done over at Viking. Tribble did win the second night at Electric City. Eric Martini at Brainerd at North Central I think he still builds his own cars. And then Andrew Headkey getting it done at Madison. Oh, Trevor Nelson should have probably won that one, and he got himself up in the fence. I'm not sure what happened. Ripped the spoiler off in the deck, and all that fell back to fifth. He's probably not going to feel too happy about that. But Andrew Headkey, I raced against his dad and his uncle, Justin and Jay Headkey. Made a lot of laps against them at the old KRA Speedway. So Super Stock Series coming up soon. We got a special this week. Miller and Electric City Speedway got some extra money on the line for the Super Stocks. Modified action. Bert, any modified action from over in eastern Wisconsin, or are you going to defer?
No, I got a couple things. Benji Lacrosse won 2 features last week. He won at Luxie Raceway and then also at 141 Speedway. At Luxie, Tim Zarneski finished second in the modifieds. He's the owner of 141 Speedway and the father of Cole Zarneski. Cole finished seventh in the race, so father beat son in that race. And Brian Mullen won the feature at Outagamie Speedway. At Shawano Speedway, there was no dust this week. It was a fast track. Tanner Yonke won the IMCA modified feature. He races at MB Customs, and Justin Ritchie helps him prepare the car. But he lapped up to fifth place in the feature, so it was a fast track.
Saw something, Bert, and I should have written some notes down. Somebody actually, Dan Uper Dan sent it over. Said kind of a cool promo. Sounds like Sarneski and one of the guys that runs like a
Yes.
off-road truck are going to do some kind of promotion deal.
Well, they did that last week. I sent.
Oh,
I
that was
sent you.
last week.
Yeah, I sent you the video at the end of the night. Off-road truck driver Reeves is Greaves.
Yep.
Greaves.
Greaves, I think. Greaves.
Yeah, Greaves. Cole had his UMP modified, and then Greaves had his off-road truck, and then they raced, and Cole pulled way out in front. Cole was way ahead in the modified. I guess the off-road trucks don't do well in the slick because 141 is always slick from top to bottom, and they did this at the end of the night. But my understanding was that they had a large crowd in attendance. They really promoted the crap out of it, and that's what you got to do though these days. And I would Greaves had posted on Facebook today that they're hoping to do some more promotions in the future. So
that's a cool deal. Hell of a cross promotion right there to get a few different fan bases together. I know Kraus talks shit about 141, but they do some things pretty darn right up there.
well,
That is for sure.
And speaking of Kraus, I was going to bring this up too. 141 Speedway. Well, of course, the Clash at the Creek is coming up in less than 2 weeks, and they are changing their format a little bit for qualifying for that race. My understanding, if I read the press release correctly, they're not going to do double heat races like they have in the past. They're going to each driver is going to race one heat race, and then they're going to do split features at the end of the first night, and then top drivers from those features qualify for the feature the following night, and then I'm sure they'll have some other last chance qualifying races and stuff. So you're changing it up a little bit. Maybe coach got in their ear. I don't know.
He might have. That it'll be interesting to see how that works out. They got really good specials for their drivers over there. Changa modified action. What stuck out to you this past weekend, whether it be with Soda, USMTS, or anything in between?
Well, we already kind of touched on the USMTS. Thunder City, Cole Chernosky wins again, never loses. Boring race, just putting around the bottom. All the usual suspects up front: Chernosky, Vernon, Kopp, David Simpson. Thursday mod race in Grand Rapids. Track had a little bit of character in it, not too bad. The 7A brought it home, Checkers, of course. But he had a good battle with old Blake Adams. Shane, he was just kind of he found the perfect smooth groove like he always does. He kind of diamond 1 and 2, and then he was able to get in underneath the holes in 3 and 4, and if anybody was going to beat them, they'd have to go through them, and that wasn't the case. Um, River Cities Speedway on Thursday, TPO won from 7th. Once he got to the lead at halfway, he pretty much checked out. We had a first-time winner in Ashland, Justin Weinberger, his first mod win down there. I saw over Reskovich and Vernon. And of course, we touched on Ogilvy with Wagaman, and Sobraski winning the 3 nights there. Third night, obviously, we talked about was a really good finish. Menominee, they had a good battle for the lead with Jake Hartung and AJ Demo kind of swapping sliders for a while before Hartung got away late in that one.
That's essentially SSR versus MB Customs right there, right? I mean, two of the most prominent chassis builders in the area. You got Jake Hartung owns SSR. You got AJ Demel, who's, I don't know if he's part owner, but he's super tied in. He's one of the main guys at MB Customs going head to head battling. Basically, that is kind of the storyline there. Hartung, I think that was his first night out too. So parking in Victory Lane in that 05 car. Did you see who won at Fiesta City Speedway and over Montevideo?
No.
Our boy Brandon Kopp drove all the way there from Thunder Bay. He was in Thunder Bay on Thursday. Well, he was there on Wednesday. Of course, it fired out, so he stayed up there, raced up there. I think he stayed. I don't know if he drove back, went to work. I don't know the whole.
Drove his crew home, and he stayed, from what I heard.
Okay, yeah. So he stayed up there. He wins. At Fiesta City. That's a long ass drive, going all the way from essentially Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada to Montevideo, Minnesota is a long ways. So congratulations, Brandon Kopp, on his first win over there at Fiesta City for him. Ward Emery, we mentioned him. I didn't see how night 2 went. He did win night 1 up at Dead Horse Creek Speedway. He got second to TPO at River Cities. Emery's super fast. Unfortunately, can't race his home track. Brendan Blasick, one of my favorite Midwest mod drivers from a couple years ago, rookie in the mods last year. He did win night number 1 over at the Viking Speedway, so that was pretty awesome to see him. Jordan DeRay at Greenbush, Mark Hansen getting it done over at the Rice Paddy, and Ryan Flotten over at Madison. We talked about US MTS. We talked about Dillard, of course, winning at Mason City. The high side tickler Kyle Strickler won that over at Britt, Iowa. And then Rodney Sanders got it done at Deer Creek. Kid by the name of Parker Hale. Keep an eye on him this week when the big money's on the line. He's been consistently running towards the front of the pack. Going to be fun to see if one of them local kids can do pretty good down at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. All right, late model action. The big thing out east was, of course, the Dirt Kings were in town. You talked a little bit about that. Anything else you want to add on the Dirt Kings, Bert, over in eastern Wisconsin?
Just, I mean, the best race of the weekend was the one at Outagamie Speedway in Seymour. They get their track is always black from top to bottom, and they don't have much of a cushion, but they get it just wet enough on the top side that there is a top groove. So cars are racing all over the place. Joel Bennett pulled out to a big lead. Then he kind of got caught in traffic, and Mitch McGrath was running the top. And then Gunnar Frank was also closing in. And those 3 drivers were very close to each other over the last few laps, but Bennett was able to hang on to win his first ever Dirt Kings feature. So congratulations to Joel Bennett for that. And then the next night was Shawano Speedway. They had 19 cars, 19 late models for the Shawano. There's 23 late models at Seymour and then 19 at Shawano. And like I said, they didn't want to use water the week before. They used water last week, and then it took me back to the 1990s. All cars had to pack, although there was only 1 or 2 late models who actually did pack. But it was a fast track in the feature. I mean, it got a little rough after they did hot laps, and then they did time trials to qualify for their heat races. And after the time trials, Mike Mullen loaded up and he went home. His car owner posted on Facebook that the risks didn't justify the possible rewards, so they loaded up and went home. Because I mean, the track wasn't great. I didn't think it was that bad. Uh, but I'm not a driver. I've never raced a late model, so I'm not going to sit here and say, um, you know, that they should have stayed. It would have been nice if they would have stayed. But it got a little rough, but it was fast. Mitch McGrath was doing lap times in about 20 seconds flat in the feature, so it was a pretty fast track. It all the cars were running the cushion, and there's really no passing. But I mean, I'm sure the track crew will get it. They saw one extreme, and now they went the other way, so they just got to find the happy medium in the middle.
Yeah, I think it'll work out. I mean, they had to get some moisture into it, and after getting a good night of racing on a track with some moisture, they can kind of work that thing in.
I mean,
I did see some video footage from Mike's video that they were out working on the track on Memorial Day.
mhm.
So hopefully the weather cooperates.
I mean, one thing this from the just seeing the pictures and the clay stuck on the front of the cars, this is good clay. I mean, it provides a lot of traction. So I just got to give them a little bit of time to get it figured out, and hopefully they'll get it figured out soon.
For sure. Changa, how about late model action for you?
Grand Rapids, our boy Kevin Burdick bringing it home checkered, kind of put it to the guys up there. Billy Kendall, good run up there, finishing second. The old
That was a good race, Changa, from second to fifth.
correct. Yep. Yeah, it's Billy Kendall, Sabraski, and Provenzino and Peterlin were the rest of the top five. And you're right, that was a good battle, but Burdick kind of left the race behind him there.
You mentioned Kendall earlier. He drove by Sabraski, who's been consistently
That's
not winning races in the late model. So we'll see if there's somebody that could be on the not hot list for the late model, it might be him, but I don't think people want us to put him on there because we usually have a little magic there, so we won't do that.
River Cities, TPO, same thing there. He gets the lead and he's unbeatable. Him and Strand did have a pretty good battle there for a while, but it was kind of
Changa,
top
did,
dominant. And
did you see what was wrong with his car at the end of that race?
yeah, what the heck did he do? Broke a
Left rear lower arm.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what lap it broke on, but that's a bull ring, so you're on the pump there.
Yeah.
And to bust a left rear lower trailing arm and be able to kind of keep that left rear up so it doesn't like spiral into the ground. Good foot control there by the one TPO and to be able to hang on and win amidst having part failure on the left rear.
Sure. Down at Law Speedway, local guy Dave Flynn got it done. Kevin Burdick gave him everything he could handle. He was past him and a yellow came out, and then he got next to him again late in the race, and they touched, and it kind of upset Burdick's car, and he never could get back to him to make another charge. But Billy Kendall, another third place finish. Our boy Johnny Broken got fourth in that one. I did watch the Joel Bennett win at Outagamie, and I tell you what, Mitch McGrath, he put on a show up on the top of.
Yep.
He was railing. He looked like a mini Bobby Pierce up there. He was giving it, trying to. He was giving it for sure.
I like that racetrack. I like Seymour.
For a slick little racetrack, it's built properly to provide for some good racing. I watched Sean Oaks, and like Bert said, he kind of covered it all. It was kind of the whole field got in line right through the middle. The holes weren't that horribly large, but when you're moving that fast, it was
Right.
sticky. When you're moving that fast, if you had to leave the smooth groove to try to go by someone, yeah, I mean, you were gonna wreck something or risk wrecking something or driving over someone. And of course, that thing's got big, heavy concrete block all the way around it. So if you go into the corner at 200 miles an hour and brake, you're going to have a bad day, right? Menominee, Lance Matthews, getting her done, right?
Lance Matthews. So he held off some charges there, right? Actually, I don't want to say he held off some charges. He didn't get the lead till late because Mark Hessler, another guy that's been racing a long time, he ran a very, very smooth race around the high side of the speedway. Didn't really bobble. wasn't charging hard. He was just very smooth and holding his line really good. And Lance was trying the bottom, the middle, kind of diamonding, doing whatever. Right behind him, you had G.O.A.T, you had Ashley Anderson, and they're sitting back there, and Lance didn't leave much of an opening. And he didn't look that great getting in, but he got off the corner so darn good. That car had so much dig getting off the corner. So his last feature win overall was at the Hamilton County Speedway, October 22nd of 2022.
That's correct.
The last win before that, August 4th, 2018, which I think was night number one of the Masters or USA Nationals. Must have been USA Nationals. August 4th would have been USA Nationals time. His last WISSOTA win, Bert. Do you know what year his last WISSOTA win was?
Oh, we discussed this. Now I get 2013.
17.
Seven.
Night number one of the WISSOTA 100 over at Huron at the Dakota State Fair Speedway back in 2017. Lance Matthews, of course, just recently inducted into the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. The guy's got a storied career. I mean, he's won a ton of races in his lifetime and makes me feel like a quitter because he's a lot older than me and he's still doing it and he's still winning races. But one for the old dogs there. Congratulations, Lance Matthews. And I still remember my favorite Lance Matthews story. Wasn't my favorite at the time. I can tell you that because he's a character. There's no doubt, right? We're at Arcadia. I've told this story on the show before, but there's people that haven't heard it. I'm running second or third in the late model and I something broke. I don't remember what it was, but I ended up parked on the top of 1 and 2. Lighting wasn't great. Yellow's out and it felt like an hour, but probably only a few seconds. And Lance drives right over me. Like I'm way on the outside of the track and he just piles into me on a yellow. I'm like, oh boy, just to make things worse, right? So afterwards up in the building, we're getting paid and I'm like, Lance, what the fuck was that? And he literally takes his glasses off. He hands them to me. He goes, "Here, you try to look through them." I'm like, "Fair enough." Joel Kreiderman laughed. I'm like, "I got nothing. I got nothing, I guess." And he had the old Coke bottles back in the day. He's had, I think, what is it, LASIK eye surgery or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, congrats, Lance Matthews. It's a hell of a win for him over at the Red Cedar Speedway. Anything else on your end there, Chonga?
Well, you want me to go into the national late model stuff, or are you
No,
leaving that?
I got a couple more with soda. Josh Zimpel, the biggest car count of the week up at I-94 Speedway, 27 late models into 10, and Zimpel getting it done. TPO, I'm not sure what happened. Broke in the heat, 27th to 9th. Good run, but broke a rack. Okay. Yeah, so he had to come from deep. Cool that he didn't go home, right? Because you look at it, it's not going to be a points show, for national points. And he put it back together, went back out, and that's a hell of, I mean, you ain't going to probably see a lot of that on Dirt Race Central because that's, you're working your way through the back. They're probably showing the battle up front, but 27th to 9th, that's putting on a show. So it's pretty fun to see him stick around and do that. Jordan Tollickson getting it done at Fiesta City Speedway, second to the Millennial Farmer, Zach Johnson. Shane Edgington up at Dead Horse Creek Speedway, and then over at Casino Speedway, they had a good car count there too. They had like 24 late models there. Multi-time national champion Chad Becker getting it done up at the Casino Speedway. Yeah, I guess we can move right in. Let's keep the Lucas for last because that's the biggest show. Did you guys watch the Mars? You said you watched the Mars races, right?
I watch Sundays.
So Tri-City on Friday, Air Force Ashton Winger got it done. Jake Little, a local guy from maybe Lincoln or somewhere down there in Illinois. Somebody you don't hear much about Jake Little, right? That's not a name you hear. I saw him a couple weeks back at Fairbury. He was super impressive. He had a really nice second place finish there to Winger at Tri-City. And then of course, Jason Fager and Brian Shirley had a pretty good battle at hashtag Falls, and Jason Fager getting it done. I went home, watched that online. But Bert, tell us about Sunday. What stuck out to you Sunday over at Spoon River?
Well, Brian Shirley was having a really good feature, and something broke on his car. I mean, he was running near the front. He may have been leading, I'm not sure, but he was near the front, and something broke on his car. And Figure was up to second at one point, but then a restart, he got shuffled back a little bit, and I think he finished fourth or fifth. And But Dennis Herb Jr., he won that, correct?
Yeah, Herb and then Shannon Bab, and kind
Yeah.
of a role reversal because Herb was banging the boards and Bab was running the
That's
bottom.
right.
And yep,
Yep. Yep. Yeah, the announcer even made that point. You don't see this too often. Herb is on the top and Bab is on the bottom. But yeah, Bab just couldn't quite get the drive off the corner to get by Herb. And I wonder when the last victory was for Dennis Herb Jr.
it's been a while. Did he win one last year? I don't know. I don't think he did.
I
I
don't
probably
know.
ours races or something, but
You would think he did, but I think he struggled pretty mightily last year. So good to see the old one-man band in Victory Lane. Chonga, what do you got?
well, so I was just going to touch on that. So yeah, Fairbury, Fager wins, right? Fager wins the race putting on around the bottom on the tires, like Fager never does, right? And then you go to Spoon and Dennis Herb's blasting the cushion, winning a race like he never does. But I found it kind of humorous. Went on to Twitter or X, and there's comments from Bobby Pierce and Nick Hoffman making fun of Dennis Herb, like, "Oh my God, Dennis Herb won a race on the cushion. What is happening to this world?" You know.
Nice. That's how rare it is. It's kind of like back in the day watching Kelly Esty win on the high side. It's like the guys won about everything, but there's not a better guy running the bottom in a modified than Kelly Esty. And then when he goes sailing by everybody up top, you're like, fuck, he can win up top too. This is bullshit. Right. And yeah, so yeah, that's that good race there for Dennis Herb Jr. So the big, of course, national scene, the biggest race of the week, it was Show Me 100 week, right? So they have the first race is a 3-day, 3 complete shows. The first night is the 12th annual Cowboy Classic, and it's actually I always wondered, why is it the Cowboy Classic? Well, the former MLRA owner Alan Cowboy Chancellor, that race is after him, and then they had the tribute to Don and Billy Gibson, who were longtime owners of the West Plains Motor Speedway, and West Plains is where the Show Me 100 was forever. And then, of course, the 33rd annual Show Me 100. And we talked about it. Hudson O'Neill, night 1, night 2. It looked like it was going to be night 3. And then Bobby Pierce, what did he win from, like 10th or something? Didn't he come from
I thought it was like
8th or
14th.
it was a ways back. Chonga, do you
Yeah,
remember where he started?
because I thought my
I
bold.
believe he won from eighth.
Oh, 8th. Did he
Oh, I
fall
thought it
back
was
a little
deeper
bit?
because I thought my bold prediction
He
was
was
going to come
ninth or tenth
true.
for a minute, but yeah, no, he was ninth or tenth for a minute, but no, he started eighth because
Yeah,
it was
Bert said,
cumulative. It was cumulative points from the first 2 nights that determined the starting positions.
yeah, Bert was hating on Bobby Pierce, said he wasn't going to finish on the podium down there. Yeah,
It's-
okay. It looked like it was going to be that way, though, because the first couple nights, not only was he not on the podium, he wasn't even in the top 5
Right.
the first couple nights. And then when the money was on the line, Bobby Pierce did what Bobby Pierce does, and that's win big races.
Big money
Anything else?
on I got a couple more.
What do you got?
Crystal Motor Speedway Turbo bringing her home checker down there.
I
Don't know
saw
much
that.
race, but I think what's the name of that? Was it the Iron Man series or something? Rusty Schlenk from that,
Yeah, yep.
and then Mudlick Valley Raceway. Mike Marlar, after we put him on the not hot list, finally gets a win. Right?
He's got a farm down there.
Is that right?
Yeah, cherry farm. He's on picking harvest time. Yep.
I gotcha.
Good old Marlar. Yes. But usually we see terrible racing at Lucas Oil Speedway. The racing, I was talking to Brad, our sponsor, and he's like, it was better than it's expected. It's actually, Bobby Pierce winning from that far back. He's right. It was, you think back about how many times we talked about how bad the racing is there. They did a better job at this event, so I got to give a tip of the cap to them for sure.
They run that long feature, no rubber. There was patchy spots of moisture still in the track.
Right, for sure.
And what I heard was that they were dodging weather throughout the entire weekend too.
Right. The big race in the sprint cars, I mean, there was a few different races went on. Of course, Rico and Marks each won one. Schuhart won one at Attica, but $100,000 to win up at Port Royal on Sunday. And high limits in town, World of Outlaws, a few of them guys making the way over there too. Brian Brown, who raced, I think, at Knoxville, made the trek all the way there overnight to race. And Aaron Reitzel cashing in 100 grand. He's been pretty quick. He's been kind of that outside looking in, has a couple wins. Aaron Reitzel taking home the big payday. If I said gravel and all the rowdy friends were going to be there, I don't think many people would have said, I think Aaron Reitzel's going to win this one. And he's no joke. He's absolutely legit.
Say, didn't so right now, if you look at the points, they've gotten tight. Aaron Reitzel's sitting fifth in the points in the high limits. Didn't he miss a race after like a hand injury in Vegas or something where he
Well, he got hit in the face with the rock.
Oh, yeah, I think he came back right away though after that. I
he
think
missed a feature then. He didn't start a feature or something.
he might have missed the feature that night. You might be
He
right.
missed some race there, but yeah, pretty impressive. I mean, like we talked about, Brad Sweet on the not hot list is leads down to 32 points, and we've got top five separated by 79. So high limits is, putting on some excitement, not like the Woo, because the Woo, they got a blowout going there, even with gravel having a couple off races.
Yeah, gravel not on the podium a few nights in a row here. That's unlike him for sure. So let's jump into anything else on the local racing. We can move right into our pick'em standings here. We pick races every week. Kind of been about, 15, 20 different races we're picking. Coach, he's still alive. For those of you wondering, he is still alive. He is leading our pick'em standings. The old 71A here has jumped over the 31 of Changa into the second spot. I'm at 208. Changa's at 205. Bert's at 203. Changa, objects in mirror are closer than they appear.
We should have put Bert on the hot.
No kidding. No kidding. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. Bert, 2 points back from Changa, 5 points from me, single digits out of the lead. Dano at 194. We got the governor of South Dakota at 192. We got Worker Bee at 188. Rain Man at 187. Uper 182. Tardy at 175. Man Bun Dan at 167. And we got Old Bromance and Beefcake rounding out the field. So this week, the races we're picking, we got a bunch. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 10 different series we're picking. So we're going to pick Hunt the Front late models. They got a double header down in Swainsboro, Georgia. We're going to be picking that one. We're picking a double header for the Mars late model series, the Illinois Valley Showdown at LaSalle. I might go one of those nights, possibly. It's only like an hour from my place. I might make my way down to LaSalle. The Wissota Structural Buildings Wissota Late Model Challenge Series. KRA Speedway in Wilmer on Thursday. Fiesta City Speedway in Montevideo, Minnesota on Friday. Madison Speedway Saturday. Casino Speedway in Watertown, South Dakota on Sunday. And out of all them racetracks, Changa, you haven't been to Monty, right? You haven't been to Casino. Have you been to Wilmer?
Yeah, I've been to Wilmer a couple times and Madison once.
How was the trip to Madison for you?
Long, because we left from Menominee, drove straight from Menominee to Madison.
Bert, he was mad at me in Madison.
We've told this story too.
He was mad at me. Do you remember the story why he was mad at me? I've told the story. Changa's never told the story. I'd like to hear it from his perspective.
You don't want to hear it through my version.
Oh, we do. I do. Because it might be different than mine. All I remember is I had a really good race with a local guy up there. We were in side by side with a bunch of laps, and I ended up winning at the end. That's all I remember.
Yeah, I know. I saw it an entirely different way.
Okay, so we went out to Madison. First time they had Wissota Supers there because they were NASCAR, Bert, and they had I think it was a firecracker deal. It was 4th of July show. What was your perspective as the stick man?
The way I remember it, and I could be wrong on this, but we get there, and we didn't get there terribly early. We didn't even know what gears we were going to need at this place. So I don't even think we had the right gear in the heat race, if I remember, and we killed them by a straightaway or something. It wasn't very entertaining. And I think we just decided not to even put the right gears in for the feature because it was just like taking candy from a baby. And I remember one of the locals, and I don't remember who it was to this day, but so Ryan passes him on the inside. Then he pulls up top, lets off the gas, lets the guy go by, and then he passes him on the outside. Then he lets him go by. Then he passes him on the inside, lets him go by. Then he passes him on the outside, and I'm giving him the double middle finger signal, because if he gets a flat tire because this guy drives off the side of him, I'm going to be really pissed that I drove all the way to Madison for this. But long story
That was inappropriate. That was mean to give me the double middle fingers. I have feelings. Yeah, and then we ended up putting in cruise control and drove off, and the WISSOTA Supers were significantly better than the NASCAR boys back then, and we had kind of a pretty fine-tuned machine, and ended up taking our own checkers at Madison. I really, really like that racetrack. That is a fun racetrack. When it's right, it can be super fast, really wide, and it races really well. So I'm looking forward to the Challenge Series race there on Saturday. We're picking a pair of NLRA late model races with WISSOTA sanctioned events up in Ada, Norman County Raceway, River City Speedway, and Grand Forks. Turns out the World of Outlaw sprint cars are going to be the support class for them, because the World of Outlaw sprint cars are in Grand Forks Friday with the NLRA late models. Then they go to the Red River Valley Speedway in West Fargo, North Dakota. We're picking the high limit sprint cars in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and at Butler Speedway in Quincy, Michigan. And then the Midwest Mods, they got I believe it's 2,000 to win, a Midwest Mod special over at the Red Cedar Speedway, Menominee, Wisconsin this Friday. Super stocks, we're picking we threw a curveball. Don't typically pick races out west because there's not a lot of research done, but I believe it's $2,000 to win out at the Electric City Speedway in Great Falls, Montana. We're picking that. And then they have the Modified World Championships, and the USRA stock cars. They race Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They run a complete show Thursday, a complete show Friday. Top 6 from each go into the A main. So we're picking Thursday and Saturday simply because some of the drivers will be locked in on Friday. So it doesn't make sense to pick it because not everybody will be racing. And then for the modified world championships at Mississippi Thunder Speedway that can be found on Racing Dirt and on Flow, $100,025 to win right now as we speak. They are practicing. They got time trials here tonight. We did a draft for that, 6 rounds. What's a favorite pick that you have on your team? I mean, you might not have your full team in front of you, Bert, but what's a favorite pick that you guys have? Any value picks that you feel like you got so far? Who was your first pick?
I think I was picking 10th or so, and I got Dustin Sorensen in the first round. So I think that's a pretty good pick, picking that deep in the first round.
Sorensen at pick number 10 is good value. There's no question, at Mississippi Thunder especially. Yes. Changa, you had a pretty good team too, Changa, it looks like.
I don't even think I had, I liked a couple of them. If I'm being honest, I don't even remember who half of them were at this point. I can remember talking to you on the phone when I'm like, God, it's 5 more picks to me. And I know there's a guy I really want, but I don't think he can make it 5 picks. And of course, you didn't pick in between, so I told you who it was, and I ended up getting that guy. So that made me somewhat happy. But it was slim pickings once we got to the end. I thought about just going out and throwing out a Nick Hoffman just so I could get a repick if he did show up, at least you got a diamond in the rough,
I don't know. There's pretty good value all the way through. I mean, I feel like I got a pretty good pick in the 5th round.
Right.
I mean, I got Ethan Dotson. So for those of you listening on the entry list, it said the rule is you have to pick a driver, right? Pick 6 drivers. That's the draft, right? Well, one of the entries was Hughes house car, and our boy JR Tardy, he picked Hughes house car, and Hooper's like, no, that statistician said that's not a driver, that's a car, not a driver. You got to pick a driver. So he took Jason Hughes. Well, when the pick got to me in the 5th round, they made an announcement that Gustin's driving that car, and I'm like, well, holy shit! I'll take Ryan Gustin in the 5th round. So JR was not as happy about that as I was. I can tell you that much for free. So our bold predictions, boys. We'll go with our standings. We keep track. We make 3 predictions every week, racing related, and we keep track of correct predictions and correct percentage. Changa is whooping the shit out of us in both categories. Changa has 8 correct. The next best is Uper at 5, Bert at 3. I got literally 2 correct. Like, you want to talk about, I'm horse shit at this, okay? Changa, you got 40% correct. Uper at 25, Bert at 18.8, and I'll just say I got a lot of work to do, okay? So, a few came off the board this last week, okay? So, Bert, rough week for Bert. You said the smooth operator Bobby Pierce would have no podiums at Lucas Oil Speedway, Show Me 100 week, and close but no cigar, because it was looking promising for you, right? Outside the top 5 2 nights in a row, starting deep, backpedaled early, only to find his way on victory lane and snipe you at the end. So you got that incorrect. Then you said in Dirt King's late model action, pair of races, Seymour and Shawano, there'd be 6 different podium drivers. Mitch McGrath sniped you with a pair of podiums. And then you said RTJ and Jonathan Davenport would podium all nights, and that did not happen on Thursday. So 3 wrong. I had a couple come off the board. My week looked about as good as Bert's. I said in the DRC Street Stock Tour that Kyle Dykhoff and Eric Riley would both podium both nights, and they would account for all the wins at both of those races. Half right. They accounted for both of the wins. Both of them went to Dykhoff. Eric Riley had a pair of 20th place DNFs. So that was incorrect. Then I said the combination of Jason Vandekamp, Joey Jensen, Shane Zabrowski, and Landon Atkinson would all win at least one A main at the Mod Nationals events. Well, Zabrowski found victory lane. Joey Jensen found victory lane. Jason Vandekamp and Landon Atkinson did not. So that was incorrect. Uper had 3 come off the board here. Actually, 4. Though, because he said Hibbing would open up on the 24th, this past weekend. Hibbing Speedway would open. Guys, he messaged me. He said they opened.
Yeah.
Said, fuck, they did.
For practice.
Literally says on their Facebook feed that opening night is Saturday the 31st. He's like, well, practice is opener. I got to be honest with you. We'll vote on this, okay? I'm going to go ahead and say that opening night is racing. Practice is practice. That was an opener. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Practice. We're talking about practice?
Exactly. So
no, I agree.
So sorry, Uper. Sorry. He said Minnesota or Iowa drivers would win all of the USMTS races. Well, we know Cade Dillard won one of them from Louisiana, Rodney Sanders from Texas, and Kyle Strickler from North Carolina. So 0 for 3 on that. He said Superman Jonathan Davenport would podium all 3 nights and win at least one. Nope. And then he said the Mod Nationals down at Ogilvie, between the Modifieds and the Midwest Mod divisions, you would have 6 different winners. Lucas Rodin, Jake Smith, Joey Jensen in the Midwest Mods. In the Modified division, you had Shane Zabrowski, Clayton Wagaman, and Clayton Wagaman. So Wagaman sniped him because he doubled up. Wagaman almost tripled up. Shane ran good, but Wagaman threw a haymaker at him on a late restart. I thought maybe he was going to go 3 for 3. But locally built chassis, JMR chassis, both of them cars. So kind of getting it done. Shout out Jay McDonald. All right, Changa, you had a couple come off the board, and Bert, you know shit ain't going well for us in these bold predictions when we get nothing right and Changa gets nothing wrong. That's not good, right? He said BP 32 would be the only non-Lucas Oil regular to make a podium finish, and he was the only one. All the other podiums were Lucas cars. He said in the DRC Street Stock Tour, the same driver to win both nights, Kyle Dykhoff. So Changa extending that lead. All right, so here we go to end the show, episode 261. 3 predictions. Bert, we'll go with you first. We'll go with Changa second. I got Upers here. and then I got my own. So, Bert, what say you?
All right, I'll do an a-hole pick.
Son of a bitch, you're gonna snipe me.
Um, in the big mod race at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, the top 5 will be all different chassis.
Okay.
Ooh.
It's a little different than what I have, but I do have a similar. So Bert went with top 5 all different. It's probably more bold than me. I might have to sweeten mine up a little bit. All right. Okay. All right. Top 5 all different chassis in the modified A main at Mississippi Thunder. That's a good prediction. A lot of parity. It's not late models. All right, Changa.
I'm gonna go to World of Outlaws sprint cars this weekend in their northern swing, and I'm gonna say 6 different podium finishers in the 2 races.
Okay. Okay, 6 different podiums in the World of Outlaw sprint cars. Okay. So we're going to stick with the World of Outlaw sprint cars theme here for Uper's first prediction. He said Donnie Schatz is going to have a pair of top 10 finishes with at least one of those being a podium.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
That's bold.
All right, I laughed.
I'm telling you right now, I know it's his home turf, but a pair of top 10 finishes is not a bunt for Donnie Schatz right now. The podium, though, is definitely makes it more challenging. So, Bert, my first prediction was 6 or more chassis brands in the top 10. I think I got to sweeten the pot up a little bit here. Okay. So, I'm going to I'm going to stick with that, but I'm going to add to it because you already did something similar. 6 or more chassis brands in the top 10 in the A main. And there will be at least one Skyrocket, at least one CDR in the top 5. So specifically, at least one CDR, at least one Skyrocket. Obviously, I'm thinking Jim Joe Chisholm. I'm thinking Cade Dillard. A lot of lap shit can happen, right? So I'm going to go with 6 or more chassis brands in the top 10 and CDR / Skyrocket, at least one of each in the top 5. All right, Bert, what say you?
I'm gonna go Mars late models. They have 2 features. I'm gonna say Bobby Pierce and Brandon Shepard will be on the podium for both races.
Pierce is kind of a home run. Sheppy's I mean, it's Illinois black dirt. He should, but Sheppy might bite you on that one. It's Sheppy.
That's why
That's
it's
what he
called
does.
bold predictions.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll give you credit on that one. Changa, pick number 2. Prediction number 2.
I'll do the same thing. I'll go Mars. I'll say Bobby Pierce wins both races, and Shepard will also be on the podium. So
In both?
I'll make it a little more bolder. I'll say not only will they both be on the podium both days, but Pierce will win both races.
Okay. Okay. World of Outlaw sprint car / NLRA action over at the River City Speedway in Grand Forks, North Dakota. This is Uper's second prediction. At least one of the nieces, the Eisenschenk girls, right? At least one of the nieces will have a better finish in the late model A main than Donnie Schatz has in the sprint car A main. Now, I'm not sure how to take that. I don't know if he's talking shit about Schatz here, saying he can't get it done anymore, or if he's saying the Eisenschenk girls can get around racetrack pretty good, pretty young talent there. So I'm not really sure which way he's going, but at least one of the nieces will have a better finish in the A main than Schatz does in the sprint car. That's interesting. All right, I like it. All right. I am going to go structural buildings with Soda late model challenge series. Shane Zabrowski will have the best average finish on the week with drivers that race at least 75% of the shows. Because there might be rainouts, right? But You got to, so if one person only races one show and they happen to win the one night, it's 100%. So out of all the racers that race at least 75% of those shows this weekend, Shane Sabraski will have the best average finish out of those drivers. And he ain't been all that great in the late model. He's leading the challenge series points, but he ain't been spectacular. So I think that's kind of a little bit probably bolder than what I should do. All right, Bert, third and final lap around the racetrack here.
I'm also going with Soda Late Model Challenge Series. And I'm going to say there's going to be at least 3 different winners for the 4 races.
Okay. Okay. Changa?
I'll say there's going to be 2 or less feature winners in the challenge series.
Okay. All right, Uper. I think he's trying to get some freebies here. You tell me if this is a bunt. Probably have to count it. The Mars late model event at LaSalle will have more World of Outlaw / Lucas Oil regulars than the Hunt the Front Series races at Swainsboro.
Well, I would 100% agree with that. That's a bunt. I mean,
I think it's a bunt. And he's like, there's a lot of late model guys down in the southeast that ain't gonna make their. I'm like, that's probably true. So
oh, we know RTJ's not going to be there.
right.
You might get Overton. Who the hell else are you going to get? Nobody else races.
I think, well, you might get Overton down there. I don't know if I doubt Davenport goes. Maybe Dalton Wilson.
I mean,
Winger.
It's not on Overton's schedule, but he doesn't tend to go by his schedule all the time.
He don't. And I'll make my third and final prediction. The one TPO of Tyler Peterson will win 2 or more late model A mains this week. 2 or more late model A main wins for the one TPO of Tyler Peterson. So that looks like episode number 261 in the book. I think it was 261. Pretty confident it's 261. But yeah, episode 261 in the book. You guys to end the show here, you doing any racing this weekend? You got any plans? You going anywhere this week?
I'm probably going to Shawano on Saturday.
Okay.
But that's probably the only one. Oh, well then this will be before we record next week's show. I am going to the high limit race at 141 next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that's coming up too. That's right. Changa, you going anywhere this weekend? Any home tracks or anything?
It's possible I might go to Gondikla. My daughter's bugging me to want to go there on Friday.
I have not. I have no idea where I'm going to end up yet. I don't know if I'm going to end up in Illinois, if I'm going to be in Minnesota, Wisconsin. I could end up anywhere. I wouldn't mind getting the tracks up north, back at home. I wouldn't mind getting the Mississippi Thunder for one of the nights. And if I'm back in Illinois, I will likely make it down to LaSalle for at least one of the nights. So I guess we'll keep everyone